We tend to focus on, the energy bills of a building, the heating, the cooling. But have you ever stopped to think about all the materials that went into creating it?
Right, the concrete, the steel, the insulation.
It really adds up. I mean, the built environment accounts for a staggering 40% of global carbon emissions.
40%. It's huge when you actually stop and think about it, almost half.
Exactly. So what innovative solutions are out there to help us tackle this massive footprint? One really interesting idea gaining momentum is something called material passports.
Yeah, and what's fascinating here is taking a concept, we all get like a travel passport, tracking your journey and applying it to building materials.
A passport for concrete.
Sort of. Imagine a detailed digital record, accessible easily, holding all the vital info about the materials, products, components used in a building.
Okay, so less like a static list and more like a dynamic travelogue for each part of the building.
Exactly. It follows a material from its raw state through its use and even looks ahead to its next life reuse or recycling.
And it's not just what is, right? It's richer data.
Oh, definitely. We're talking type, quantity, the embodied carbon, the carbon generated, making it environmental impact, health and safety stuff, certifications, and really key, its reuse potential.
So you can see how this connects to the bigger picture, this whole life cycle thinking.
Precisely. You stop just thinking about building it and start thinking about the whole lifespan of the parts.
And that leads to things like material banks.
Yeah, these online platforms or marketplaces where valuable recovered materials can be listed and find new uses.
So the mission for this deep dive is really to, well, dig into how these material passports can push forward a circular economy in construction.
We want to understand how they boost transparency, help reuse materials, keep their value, cut waste.
And maybe even push manufacturers towards more sustainable stuff from the get-go.
Let's start with that first one, data transparency. How do these passports fundamentally change things?
How do they change our understanding of what's actually in our buildings?
Well, think about it now. That information is often, scattered. It's on invoices and specs, maybe just in someone's head.
Yeah, fragment.
Material passports act as a central digital hub. They pull all that vital data together, make it accessible throughout the building's life.
So you could just, look up the embodied carbon for a specific beam,
Uh-huh.
or check the certifications for the insulation.
Exactly. Or see if that window frame is designed for easy disassembly. Real-time information.
That sounds incredibly useful. Like
Oh.
if you're a developer planning a renovation or a contractor facing a demolition.
It's a huge advantage, definitely, having that searchable information ready to go.
But is it complicated? Managing all that data, interpreting it.
That's a fair point. Accessibility is great, but the data needs to be good quality, well-structured. Standardized templates are key here.
Okay, product data templates, PDTs, we'll come back to those.
Yeah, and user-friendly interfaces are important too. There's a learning curve, no doubt. But the long-term benefits in efficiency and sustainability, they really outweigh that initial complexity.
So developers make better choices, contractors plan better.
And suppliers who focus on sustainability get more visibility. It benefits everyone down the line.
Okay, so we've got this accessible data. How does that translate directly into reusing more materials? Because demolition sites often just look like, piles of rubble.
That's the practical challenge, isn't it? Spotting the valuable stuff in the mess.
Uh-huh.
Material passports are the answer because they keep that detailed, up-to-date record. So, end of life for the building. You don't just knock it all down.
You consult the passport first.
Right. Pinpoint materials that are still good, that have reuse potential. It's like having an inventory to guide a much smarter deconstruction.
So less demolition, more
Yeah.
strategic unbuilding.
Exactly that. It empowers targeted recovery. Valuable resources aren't just crushed and landfilled. They're carefully extracted
Preserving their integrity.
and their potential second life. Plus, the passport often has the material's history, where it came from, treatments, performance specs.
So that builds trust. Makes it easier to sell or transfer them to secondary markets.
It's like giving reclaimed materials a documented pedigree. Builds confidence.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah.
If you know its history and quality, someone else is much more likely to want it, which leads right into preserving material value. How do passports help keep these materials seen as assets, not waste?
Well, by carefully documenting that quality, the certifications it might still hold, its reuse potential. The passport itself becomes a value retention tool.
So the material plus its passport is worth more.
It can be, yeah. Reclaimed materials with good documentation can hold or even increase in value. often because they have lower embodied carbon than new stuff.
Right, which is increasingly important for projects aiming for sustainability targets.
Definitely. So if you're starting a new project and you can get reclaimed material with a solid history, lower impact, that's really compelling.
Multiple levels, yeah.
Environmental and potentially economic.
Absolutely. And as demand for sustainable building grows, material passports make these reclaimed resources more visible, more accessible, and therefore more valuable in the market.
It helps formalize and scale up a market for what used to be just, well, waste.
Which brings us right to waste reduction. Construction waste is just a massive issue. How do passports tackle that directly?
The main impact is enabling better planning, way better planning.
How so?
If you have that passport from the start, you can plan for material recovery before you even think about demolition or redevelopment.
So you know what's there and what its potential is.
Exactly. You know what's in the structure, its condition, its reuse or recycling options. So teams can create targeted strategies to keep it out of landfill.
And the potential reduction is significant.
Studies suggest it could be really substantial. Less landfill waste, lower disposal costs for cities, much lower environmental burden.
So it shifts the mindset. Instead of dealing with waste at the end, you design for recovery from the beginning.
That's the goal. And by tracking materials through their whole life cycle, the passports generate amazing data on material flows.
Data we can use.
Yeah, analyze it to see where waste happens, where we can be more efficient. It all feeds into cutting the industry's environmental footprint.
This all sounds really positive. But it makes me think about the manufacturers. How does this influence them? Can it drive more sustainable manufacturing?
This is where we could see a really positive systemic shift, actually.
Oh, yeah.
As passports become more common and there's more transparency about what materials are being used, well, manufacturers will feel the pressure or see the opportunity.
How so?
Clients and developers using the passport data will likely start preferring materials with longer life cycles, better durability, higher potential for recycling or reuse.
So it creates a market pull. If your material has a great passport, detailing its circular potential, it becomes more attractive.
Exactly. That transparency acts as a catalyst. It encourages innovation in material design, pushing away from that linear take, make, dispose model.
Towards a more closed-loop, circular approach, materials designed to last and be reused.
That's the idea, a fundamental shift.
Okay, the benefits are clear. They're compelling. But the sources we looked at also flagged some pretty big challenges to getting these adopted widely. What are the main hurdles?
Probably the biggest one right now is the lack of standardization. There just isn't a single agreed-upon way to create, manage, or share this passport information.
Different formats, different systems.
Yeah, and that inconsistency makes it hard to exchange data, compare information across projects, across different software platforms. It creates friction.
Right. If everyone's speaking a slightly different data language, it limits how effective the whole thing can be. The material mentioned product data templates, PDTs, ISO 23387.
Yeah, PDTs. Think of them as a common language for product information in construction.
A standard dictionary for materials.
Kind of. They provide a standardized structure for recording all that essential data, technical specs, performance, environmental stuff.
So manufacturers use these templates.
If they adopt them, yes. It means they supply consistent, comparable data. That makes creating passports much easier, obviously.
And helps designers compare products, apples to apples.
Exactly. Based on specs, cost, environmental impact. Plus, standardized data integrates much better with building information models.
Those digital building models.
Right. Which means better design decisions, better cost estimates, better life cycle analysis. It all connects.
So standardization via things like PDTs is crucial. Oh. What other big challenges are there?
Well, there are tricky issues around data ownership and access rights that still need ironing out.
Like who actually owns the passport data?
Exactly.
Yeah.
And who gets to see it? Who can change it? Under what rules?
Yeah, that could get complicated.
And then there's the tech side. We'll likely see different platforms, different software for managing these passports, making sure they can all talk to each other, share data seamlessly. That's another big hurdle. Interoperability.
It really sounds like collaboration is absolutely key here. Developers, contractors, manufacturers, tech companies.
They all have to come together. It's paramount. Without everyone working together to set standards, figure out secure data sharing, agree on ownership rules, we won't unlock the full potential here.
The information also mentioned digital product passports, DPPs. How do those fit in with material passports for construction? Are they related?
They are related, yeah. DPPs are a broader idea aiming for more data and transparency for lots of different products, not just construction materials.
Okay, a wider scope.
But what makes DPPs really significant is the regulatory push behind them, especially in the EU. They're seen as a way to boost sustainable trade and the circular economy across many sectors.
And how does that help us in construction with material passports?
Well, the push for DPPs is driving the development of key technologies we need, like persistent unique identifier.
Barcodes, QR codes.
Things like that, yeah. Codes physically on the product that link directly to its digital info. This is super valuable for improving data ownership, tracking, access rights, not just for general products, but specifically for the detailed data in our building material passports, too.
So the tech developed for broader DPPs helps material passports work better.
Absolutely. Ultimately, getting that product data right, making sure it's accurate, reliable, accessible is fundamental. It's crucial for material passports, for DPPs, and really for the whole digital future of the built environment.
So it really all boils down to getting that data foundation solid.
Yeah.
Accurate, standardized, accessible across different systems.
That's it in a nutshell. To really get the benefits of material passports and these wider DPP initiatives, the whole industry needs to collaborate. Set up those frameworks, improve data integration, sort out the ownership and access protocols.
Okay, so to wrap up this deep dive, material passports look like a really promising, maybe even revolutionary way towards a more circular, more sustainable construction industry.
Yeah, they offer that crucial data transparency we need to really boost material reuse, preserve the value of those resources, cut down the huge amounts of waste.
And even nudge manufacturers towards more sustainable production through market forces.
Right. But, as we've discussed, it's not a simple path. Getting widespread adoption means tackling those hurdles.
The lack of standardization, sorting out data ownership, getting everyone to actually collaborate effectively.
Those are the key steps needed to make material passports a mainstream reality, not just a niche idea.
This has been really insightful. Definitely makes you think differently about the stuff our world is built from, its whole life cycle.
It changes your perspective.
Okay, here's a final thought for you, the listener, to mull over. Thinking beyond construction now, could we apply similar digital passport ideas to other things? Like our electronics, maybe even furniture.
Extending the concept.
Yeah, to push circularity and cut environmental impact on an even bigger scale. What do you think the benefits and the challenges might look like in those areas? Definitely something to ponder.